Hello and welcome to this month's drawing tutorial. This month I'm going to show you how to draw fine details in fur and hair. So to focus on those techniques, I chose this picture of a girl with a big furry hood. So to start your drawing, give yourself a grid around the outside of your reference material, just like I did here, and then correlate those marks to your drawing paper. Now the idea is that you can use those dimensions, that outer grid, to quickly and accurately place your large shapes. So I'm going to begin with the outside dimensions of her hood. You see that the top is right here, almost going outside of the frame, and the edges line up with the 1 mark on the left and 7 1/4 or so on the right. So here is my 1 mark. Here's my 7 1/4 mark. I sketch in those guidelines first, and then I complete the basic shape. Since I have those guidelines around the outside, I know that I'm going to wind up with a finished piece that is its exact same proportions. The only trick is to make sure that you use that grid and use it consistently. So here, also on the 1 point, 1G should be about the shoulder. The bottom of the chin, and feel free to use a straight edge if you need. The bottom of the chin aligns almost perfectly with the F point. So then I can give my guideline for that. The top of her face lines up pretty closely with C. So I'll make a light mark there. And then the sides of her face intersect here at 5 1/2 and 3. So I'll use my straight edge again, make a mark at 3, make a mark at 5 1/2, and just like magic, I have the basics sketched out here already. So I'll use my grid and mark down a few more things. Here's the top of the coat. Here at D are supposed to be the eyes. Then the eyes are supposed to be about an eye's width apart. And the nose is about an eye's width down from the bottom of the eye, and the mouth lines up with the center of the eyes. So once you have the eyes placed, you can place the rest of the face really quickly. I have a kneaded eraser handy so that I can erase any of those sketchy lines that aren't helpful. But then once I have the parameters of features boxed in, then I can go back and start to fill in the shapes, looking more closely at the reference material. So here are the eyes. Notice that I'm keeping my reference material nice and close as I rough in these other features, like the nose and the mouth. Alright, so now the face is roughed in place, and I'm going to give myself a little bit more detail in the coat and fur lining. This flap of the coat should be right around 6 here. Here's the zipper. Now I'm going to start putting in some detail in the fur, which you need to do before there's any tone on the page, because the easiest way to make details in hair is by indenting the paper itself. I'm going to go in with a bamboo skewer, and wherever I see light hairs against the background, I'm just going to indent my paper. Just do that all the way around the page, and it might even be helpful to have some indented lines in the zipper. And then I'm going to sharpen my pencil, and I'm going to work more carefully in the features now to make them look exactly like the little girl in the picture. So for instance, in the eye, I'm going to start by making sure I have the shape of the eye correct. After the shape is correct, I can go in and add details like the pupils, the shading in the iris, the eyelashes, and the eyelid. And before you start adding shading, you need to make sure that the face looks completely right. So be very finicky at this stage. Then you're going to add a base tone to the face so that the skin is established. I'm going to dip a soft, completely dry brush into some charcoal dust, and I'm going to brush it over the face, starting in the darkest quadrant and then working my way down across the face. Easy, easy, easy. Now you got a bit of a gray stripe here. Resist the urge to use your kneaded eraser to even that out. Instead, move to a chamois cloth and just gently lift that tone up. Now get your pencil ready again, and we're going to go into some of those details and the features of the face. Start in the eyes and work your way down. You're just going to push up all the features to the next stage of darkness, and you're going to build up all of the features at the same rate. The face is not just an assemblage of these separate parts. All of the features work together to make the unique face, and so you should draw them together the same way. Then I'm going to go in with a stomp or tortillon, and I'm going to blend these small details. Here, see how I'm gradually drawing and shading at the same time by using my used dirty stomp and putting in some of those really delicate shadows. The side of the face here has a heavier shadow, so I'm going to add that using the charcoal pencil on the side and just very lightly add some strokes here. Then I'll use some circle strokes and blend those tones out, or I can use the chamois cloth again and soften those lines out. Now I've gotten these lips a little bit smeary, so I'm going to go back in and make them a little bit more decisive here with my stomp. And to lift up those lips, lift up the edge of the nose, I'm also going to use a kneaded eraser, pick out a blade, and then just lightly press and pull out highlight. The light helps to lift, the shadow helps to make things look like they retreat. This is the first pass, so then just repeat that process and go back into those same features for a second pass. And you should stop between passes to make sure that the features are still looking correct. Now I'm adding some darker line to places like the eyelashes, the pupils of the eyes, the nostrils, and the line between the lips. When you're adding the hair, then look at the shape of the large piece, mark in the upper and lower boundaries of it, and then you can fill that shape in with more strokes. And that top of the eyebrow should be visible here as well. I need to add some more details in these features, the same way that we did before. I'm going to strengthen the line underneath the chin. Then I'll blend that out, and I'm going to strengthen the shadow shapes around the eyes and on the side of the nose. This face may not be completely done, but it's close enough to being finished at this point that I can move forward to the hat. And to start that hair, I have a lot of the white highlights protected, of course, but I'm just going to start by establishing some hair growth patterns. So sometimes the hairs are going to look really short because they're pointed more towards the viewer, and then in other places where you're seeing the length of the hair as they move away or they push in the opposite direction, they're going to appear longer. When I get close to the face, it needs to be bumped up to be very dark, and I can fill in with some small circle strokes like this. So step one, establish your line, make it nice and clean and crisp, and try to do it in one single stroke, and then blend outwards from the line with little circle strokes like this. Down here I've moved into the shadow shape on the coat, so I'm going to put that in a little bit lighter and then fill it in with those circle strokes once again. And then after you have some strokes built up, go back and press a little bit harder to work on filling in the shadow shapes between some of these individual hairs. So let me just show you a little bit more how I would finish this up. There are at least 4 different things that you need to do here. You've indented the paper for the highlights, you put on the individual strokes with the charcoal pencil, you blend some of those strokes, and you darken up some deliberate shapes between some individual hairs. This is how you build it up. Now when you get to the outer ring of the hair, it changes color and it's a lot lighter. I'm going to do the same thing on this lighter edge, except I'm going to use a lighter stroke, and then I'm also going to need to have a background color so that those indented hairs will pop out. So I'll just go up close to the indented hairs like this, and you can use your stomp or your chamois, blend that tone out. If you want to preserve a really sharp edge around the frame, take some masking tape, tear off pieces the right length, and then stick that to your clothes. Okay? Press that down, and I'm just going to go ahead and put tape around the entire border. Press it down firmly, and then when you blend, you can go with confidence all the way to the edge, knowing that that's going to be preserved for you. Focus in on that so you can see those lines. See them popping out like that? And I'll go back with my stomp, circle stroke out, circle stroke, circle stroke, circle stroke, just like this. Alright, so now you know how to do hair and the background. That's what I'm going to work on off camera, and I will come back when it's pushed forward a little bit more. After spending some time using those techniques, the fur is coming along just like this. Now let's go into the jacket. I'm going to begin by redefining those lines that I see, focusing on the dark edge. Once you have some wrinkle lines developed, then you're going to start filling in some tone. It should be fairly light because I'm trying to match the color in the highlight areas. So fill in the whole coat, all the fabric with this base tone, just going back and forth like so. If you want to keep the edges of the coat really nice and crisp, take a piece of masking tape, use scissors to make a thin strip. Then you can use small pieces of tape and just tape down the lines right next to the coat. So then I'm just going to fill in some tone like this. Keep it lighter than those dark lines that you already developed for the shadow shapes. And then it's just a matter of filling in, tilting the paper as needed so that it's comfortable and easy to do. You can also protect these buttons with some Frisket film. Put it down, trace your shapes, cut them out. Then the Frisket film has a backing, you just peel off, press it down. And I can go right over that Frisket film. I'm going to periodically stop and re-darken those lines of the collar so that they don't get lost. But then just work the same way that you did on the skin. Smooth that base tone down. Fill it in right up to the tape. Then when the base tone is down, start strengthening those shadow shapes. I'm just looking at my reference material and I'm filling in those shapes as shapes. So the wrinkles around the buttons, the seam lines. All I need to do is take my time and copy the darks that you see on the picture. So this is just a matter of taking the time, paying close attention to the reference material, and then yes, after putting down some of these shapes, I might have to go back in with my little stomp or tortillon and soften and smooth an edge or two. So let me take some time away from you once more, and I'll come back to show you a piece that's pushed further ahead. Here's the drawing after pushing it up a little bit more, and now all that we have left is some detail work. I'm going to use an X-Acto knife, extremely carefully peel up one edge of that Frisket film, and look at that glorious, perfectly clean white circle. Excellent. So now I have these two stark white buttons, and in the button is another place where you can use your stylus and indent some details. Go in with the skewer here, indent that white highlight on the edge and on this edge, and maybe just the indication of some writing. Then I can go over the top with my charcoal pencil, and poof, like magic, details appear on the button. If you want to bump up the realism in your drawings, one key component is sharp contrast in line, especially on those manufactured items, like the zipper pull, like the lettering on the buttons. Those sharp contrasts, they really make it pop. I'll just add a little bit of stitching here and there, and then comes the time to carefully remove that tape. Ooh la la, look at that finished drawing. So there's the bottom of it. Those nice crisp sharp edges really do a lot to increase the realism. So that concludes this month's drawing tutorial. I've really enjoyed drawing this, and I hope that you enjoy trying your hand at drawing fur as well. I'm going to upload the reference so that you can give this very picture a shot, and I hope that these techniques will come in handy to you in your artistic endeavors in your own studio. Thanks so much for watching.